Where it stops, no one knows. We're going headed into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Well, hello, Christine. Hi, Julie. What's up, cool gamer? Hi, sweet dude. Hi, Sharon. Tony. Hi, Teresa. What's up, Queen Elizabeth? I'm going to say this is Gretel. It's tough on what I see because it comes up as like symbols. So that one's tough. Inspector Gadget. Hi, Judy. What up, poor Pitbulls? Hey, Shaz. Angie, baby. Hi, Anna. Hi, Cheryl. Hello, Cindy. Been binging? Oh, goodness. You probably had enough of me then. You're like, oh, I can't handle it anymore. Hi, Bonnie. What's up, CW? Janie Lane. What's up, Tina Vegas? Hi, Sleuthy Goosey. BG. What's up, Mark? Hi, Diane. Just Deb. Dom's going to dinner. Going to catch the replay. Hi, Dom on the replay. J.O. What's up, Marshall? Hi, ASMR. I sees through. Is it Nomfic? Nomfic? Hi, ATS. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, Cindy. So, I know, I took a day off from Delphi. I was like, all right, I'm going to take a day off. I was going to take maybe 2, but, you know, I got this book. I need to know how many of you guys have actually read this book. Forest for the Trees by Chris Todd. Have you guys read this? It's not new. So, I mean, it's been out for a little while. Hi, Diana. Let me see. I don't know when it actually came out. I know he was writing it in 2022. Let me see. It has a... Nope, that's when I ordered it. I think they're printed upon order because, like, it literally says, like, the day I ordered it. Nope, never read it. I have not. Haven't even heard of it. He's the Ron Logan guy. Yep. Should we? We're going to discuss that today. Nope. Okay. Love the shirt. Thank you very much. No, unless someone's going to send me a PDF. Oh, so don't you get me started on the PDFs. Do you know my history with PDFs? Man, that's caused some chaos in my YouTube life. For whatever reason, in the Watts case, I got all the PDFs, and then it just became like a thing. I was like, please don't send me the PDFs. I don't want the PDFs. Tony hasn't read it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do for you. We're going to go through it. And then you can decide for yourself. J.O. says, nope. Never heard of it. I can ask for that for Christmas. Hi, 1960. Okay. So, Chris Todd is... I don't even know how I would describe Chris Todd. You got to be able to write all over it. Well, you can, technically. You can write all over this thing. It's hard because I like a good PDF because then I can do a keyword search instead of like trying to remember where the heck everything is. Which kind of threw me because I was like, oh, wait, I should probably mark down the stuff that I want to talk about. I know the town is frowning upon these books. Really? Because they just don't want the information out there. They want to keep it until after, like they want that information close until after the trial. Like, are they giving like reasons? I wonder. Yeah, keyword search rocks. Heard of it, didn't read it. Haven't heard of it, but I'm going to order it. Okay, so the link to the Amazon to get the book, which is where I ordered it, is in my description. Well, I can't read you the book because then I could get in trouble. But I'm going to talk to you about what I read. I think Chris Todd would be okay with it after reading this book. I think that he would be absolutely okay if anybody sued him ever. It's not over yet. That's why. Okay. Well, I can see that. I can see that. Haven't heard good stuff about it. Haven't heard of the book, though. Okay, so let me tell you guys my first thought. And I wasn't gonna get the book. I wasn't going to, because I'll be honest. Like, I've watched Chris Todd on Court TV a few times. I watched. He did multiple interviews on Delphi After Dark with Rick Snay. I made it through like the first half of one. I haven't finished it, and I haven't. He has a personality that. Could rub you the wrong way. And so I kind of struggle like with watching him. I'm just being as honest as I can. I kind of struggle with watching him. The one thing I took away from this book, though, was a better understanding of him, good, bad, and different. I understood his perspective a lot more. Well, he could sue on behalf of Ron Logan's estate, I would assume. But here's the thing: you can't defame a dead person. So there's not really a lot of recourse. I'm sure there's loopholes to do all over it. So, he's a lot. He is a lot to kind of take in. But like I said, with reading the book, I kind of understand. Like listening to him like on Court TV, I get it more than I did before. Hi Lilith, what's up, Kilt? Yeah, I'm gonna do like kind of the reader's guide or the Cliff Notes, the yellow one, the Cliff Notes version. He does have a bit of a motor mouth. So this book is, if you buy the book, do not expect to read like a novel. Personality only a mother could love. This isn't like storytelling. He's not writing, like there's not the arcs of an actual novel. And if you notice, I read a ton of true crime. I love true crime. It's just, it is what it is. Hi Grace. Hi Mar. It's essentially, if I had to like give you a synopsis of what it is you would be reading, I would tell you it's like a really long Facebook post. That's what I think of it. Or you're reading the transcript of somebody's live, like on YouTube, because it's literally him talking and just telling how he feels about everything, how he views it, how he started, how he ended, what his thought process was. It's like a really long Facebook post. That's like the best description I can come up with in my brain about what it is. I read the whole thing in one sitting, so that's a positive. It's not like it's not going to take me a year to get through it. If you go into it with the expectation that you're not going into it to try to read a story with all the arcs and the beginning and the end, it doesn't flow that way. It's him talking about himself, and telling his story about how he very first was introduced to the case. It's how he was. Yeah, I finished. Yeah, it's finished. I finished. I literally read it all. I read it all today. I started it the other day when I got it, and I was like, all right, I'm going to need to just like sit down and just read it. I was like, and the kids were around and stuff. I'm like, no, I'm just going to sit down and read. Yeah, I read it. all done. But it talks a little bit about his life. It doesn't go into like all the other cases that he solved, because he does say he has solved other cases, but he doesn't go into what they are. I'm trying. If you guys know me at all, like I don't want to talk shit about anybody, like, ever. It's just it's not a novel. That's the biggest thing I want to make sure that anybody's aware of when you order it. It's him telling the story about him, his past a little bit, his life in Hollywood, like actual Hollywood-ish. He talks a lot about the news, talks about fake news like Donald Trump. I don't know, is that going to get me like kicked off YouTube for bringing that up? Talks about how he's been turned away from a ton of, he thinks he solved this one. Yes. He does believe he has this solved. And he's essentially says he's done, and that's it. Yeah, he solved the O.J. Simpson case is one of them, but he doesn't talk about the case in this book. He just talks about cases, like literally very broad, that he's solved. Doesn't go into the details about the other cases. But it's very interesting to understand his demeanor now about the history he has had with all these different news organizations, and basically how they shut him out and they don't listen to him. They wouldn't even essentially give him the time of day. They were like, we have people that we have to answer to, and your story isn't going to make it. And he even went to like publications and news stations that, say that they basically will cover any story type of thing. And they just turn him away. And so he's had a lot of rejection when it comes to any of the cases that he's looked at. I know, Robin. That's what I was saying. There's no rise. That's why if you saw the book and it was like it was literally like a PDF or a Facebook post, you would probably sit down and read the whole thing. So as long as you go into it with the expectation you're not getting a novel, I think that it's a good purchase. I can tell you that there was only like, and okay, so I'll backtrack. So a lot of the times people get involved in these cases and they want to write a book. We got Cheryl and Cadle. She's on book like number 3 when it comes to the Watts case. So that's kind of how it's not uncommon. This is what they kind of do. I mean, and it's news organizations do it. I mean, look, I've got, for Murdoch, here's, Mandy Matney's, who was with Fitz News. This is Susan Hendricks. She wrote a book. Here's another one. Here's Idaho. That's not solved yet. Here's another book. You know what I mean? Like, so people, they get involved in the cases and they do write these books. Give me 1 second. Oh, sorry, ATS. You didn't realize I still had it up there. All right, I got like a tickle in my throat. What was I saying? Oh, so like the people will get involved, and so they end up writing these books, but they're really based on just like their perspectives of being involved in the case and like how they went through it. It's very different than reading like a. Let me see what I got up there. I don't know if I have one that I could really show you. It's just different than like having an author who writes the book and is telling a story that's not based on being involved in it. If that makes sense. It's written differently. So I think with that perspective, it's important. I won't donate to him, so I'm glad you're telling us. I'm like, I had to. This is just like yesterday when I was talking about Murdoch. I'm like, I'm going to have to buy it. Becky Hill's book is sitting in my cart, and everybody says it's a terrible read, but I'm probably going to do it anyway. It's just what I do. I try to. Oh, yeah, I'll cough right into the mic. I'm already loud enough as it is. Could you imagine with your volume the way that it is, and I just start coughing at you? Oh, thank you for joining, members. Lead with love. Lead with love. So that expectation, once I realized that that's what we were going to be, that's what I was going to be reading, I was like, okay, I kind of get what it is. So he talks about that in 2017, he heard about the story and was following along. There wasn't a lot of information because it was new, and due to his experience on investigating cold cases and other cases, he was just going to like kind of let it play out. He knew it was going to be able, it was probably going to take some time, so he's just going to let it be. And then in 2019, he reached out to one of the girls' moms that was active on social media. He talked to her for a little bit, and he essentially ends up telling her that he does think that the person responsible is Ron Logan. And his evidence at that point to support that was Ron Logan's TV interviews, the fact that he looked very much like Ron Logan. The bridge guy looks like Ron Logan, and like he's wearing the same clothes in the interview. He kind of just got, essentially it was like his gut instinct, and he just got that by looking at him. So, hi, Mother of Dragons. Did he end up writing one? Because he was actually going to co-author one, and then she ended up, the lady he was writing one with didn't have him in it anymore. I don't remember that. Hi, Kay. What's even more sus than Logan's false alibi is the fact that he knew he would need an alibi in the first place. How would he have known they weren't just lost or missing? Wouldn't need an alibi for that. Right. And that's one of his key points later. Is there 2 Down the Hill books? Maybe I'm getting mixed up because the books versus the documentaries. 2 Down the Hill books. There's the Down the Hill podcast, and then there is the Down the Hill that HLN did, which is 2 episodes. So I don't know of the only book I know of is this one. Is there another Down the Hill book? If there is, I don't own it. I can tell you, hold on. There was another, maybe it was a Murdoch book though. Let me look. There was another one I just added, but I don't remember what it was about now. Oh, it is. It's a Murdoch book. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. AJ Turner. The forest. That's the one we're talking about right now. CW. That's the forest for the trees. That's the one we're discussing. That's this one. That's the one by Chris Todd. So he talks about that he contacts the mom of one of the girls. He doesn't go in and he's not name dropping. He's not like putting out like what the mom said. He says that he put that he told her that he does suspect that it's Ron Logan. He tells her why, and she essentially says that law enforcement has cleared him, which I find just the terminology used was. It really made me pay attention because I was like, wait a minute, like law enforcement has publicly said that nobody in this investigation has been cleared. Nobody. Oh, I think so. I think so too. I want to see if I made the Down the Hill comment showing her collection of books on the case. Yeah, that's the only 2 I know of. Book-wise. So, they keep telling the world, like, nobody's been cleared. So Chris says that he's adamant that it's Ron Logan. So he starts contacting, like, Carroll County ISP, and he's telling them, like, why he thinks it's Ron Logan. And they're like, no, essentially he's been cleared. Like, it's not him. Like, let it go. So he says he decides that nobody's going to listen to him. Nobody's taking him seriously. The doors are being closed in his face. And so he's going to walk away. and he leaves the case and goes back and starts doing whatever he was doing before. He says his plate was very full solving all the cold cases. And then in, I think it was May, I may have the month wrong, of 2022, DC said no one was cleared after RA was arrested, even RL in 2022. Yeah, nobody's cleared. Nobody, not family, not anybody they've looked at. Nobody's cleared. That's the only two books I know of. So if there's another one, I just don't know of it. There very well could be. Jackie Jones. Oh gosh. So he backs away from the case, and then in May, I think it was May of 2022, the Ron Logan search warrant comes out, and the original people who put it on social media put their watermark all over it. So he has some nice remarks about the people who put it on social media, and that they don't own Ron Logan's search warrant, and really to not do that. But he has some other choice words. Like I said, it's just written like he's writing you a letter. Like he's just telling you, he sat down at a computer and just was like, I'm going to put all my thoughts on paper and then I'm going to publish it. And that's what we're reading, or what I read. He goes on to talk about then that once he read the Ron Logan search warrant, like everything that was in this search warrant just corroborated everything he thought. And so he was like, these people are essentially idiots. Like, how does nobody see that this is the guy? This is him. Like, he's right in front of your face. And you're just ignoring that he's there. Hi, Aspen. This is the Chris Todd book. Yep. I read it today. Hi, Catherine. On Murder Sheet, Susan Hendricks said she still considers RL a suspect, and that he was a vigorous, imposing man who was frightening in person even at his age. And that's so weird, because like other people have been interviewed who knew him and talked to him, and they say he's not like that. That he wasn't. He was just a normal, average Joe guy. Yeah, he had a bit of a temper, but you guys are killing me. Probably gonna have to turn the camera off. He's like, this search warrant like literally corroborates everything I thought. And you guys, I don't know how you guys don't see it. You say that he's basically hiding in plain sight, and there he is. You say he's like in your own backyard, and there he is, and this is the guy, and I don't know how you guys don't see it. So he gets back involved in the case. He's starting to talk to people. He's like, I need to talk to locals. I'm going to talk to anybody that'll talk to me. And since he was turned away from all of these news outlets, and he names like all the news outlets. He doesn't go as far as to name the actual like news reporters necessarily, but he just says like the news outlets are essentially, they're just Hollywood. They're just actors. They don't really think for themselves. They're given a script and they just go read it. And I was like, yeah, Chris Todd, I kind of agree with you. Mainstream media is not what I believe it should be. So I'm like, okay, I get that. So he starts reaching out to private investigators and just anybody that he basically can to. I read the book. I read it today, Aspen. Read the whole thing. Sat down and I just read the whole thing. I didn't talk to anybody today because I was like, nope, we got to read it. They don't investigate like reporters used to, right? I think that you have a couple, like, I feel like are probably the closest, like a Brian Enton is close, Justin Lum, Nate Eaton. Those are like your closest, like old school investigative reporters to me. What is her name from Tennessee? Oh my gosh, why can I not think of her name? Ashley Daniels, is that right? That doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. She covered Evelyn Boswell. She covered Summer Wells. I think it's Daniels. Ainsley? No, that's not Ainsley. Ainsley. It is Ainsley. Thank you, Dina. Thank you. So there's a few that I think are out there doing some investigative reporting. It's just not like it used to be, and I agree with that. So I was like, this is a whole chunk of the book that I could agree with. But he definitely has a bone to pick with mainstream media, national news. He has a whole chapter on it, and then he talks about it in a bunch of the other chapters as well. It consistently goes back to that. If I had to guess, I would say, if I went through and actually highlighted, I would say that he names news outlets more than he names Ron Logan. Or it's very close. Lauren Sharf, yeah, she was when she's done. She left though. Anjanette Levy, I don't know. She doesn't do much out in the world anymore, does she? Hi, MB. So so I guess the book really it talks almost too much. Like he made his point. I get it. Like I agree. I get it. But he's definitely got a history that he does not like these people. Which is, like I said, I can tell that it brings me to more understanding of why he's kind of so like put offish when he is on like a court TV or even News Nation, because I have one from there too. He just is, he wants people to go like balls to the wall. He talks about, getting subpoena power, and if you talk shit about people, they can sue you, and then you get subpoena power. So he would love for anybody who he thinks is the bad guy to sue him, so he can get subpoena power, and then he would get all the information about the investigation, and how he would be able to prove that this guy's a bad guy, because he doesn't have much, so they're not going to get anything from him, is his whole point. Like, go ahead and sue me. You're not going to get anything, but I'm going to get all your information. And for killers, they don't want you to have their info. So go ahead, sue me. It is what it is. That's what he essentially says. He talks a lot about like the light and the dark, and how there's things that are done essentially in a good way, and then there's things that are done in a not so good way, and that he doesn't. Oh, hey, anything I like? Okay, hold on. 2 books I have is Hiding in Plain Sight. All right, hold on. Let me look that up real quick. And who's that by? I thought I highlighted that comment so I could not lose it. Hey, Ashley! By David Boyer. It's an audio book, it says. I can't even. Wasn't that a podcast? What's the other one? Let me see. Oh, Harvey Carroll, who used to have a channel, right? He took all of his videos down, I think. Okay, I'll have to look into those two, because I don't see either one. She covered Wagner in Southern Ohio. She is really good. I just didn't think she actually went out and about too much anymore. Let me see. They are limited to what they are allowed to write about. That's what I don't want. I want to be able to report on whatever the fuck I find and want to. So and that's essentially what he says. He says, I want to talk about what I want to talk about, and I'm going to say what I want to say. And these guys are just run by corporate lawyers, and it's bullshit. And he doesn't agree with the way that they run mainstream media or national news outlets. That's kind of his whole thing. Hey, Freckled Joy. Hey, Jeff. Aspen's here. Jeff says hi, Aspen. Oh, there you go. There you go, Jeff. Aspen says hi. Ron really fits the silhouette of Bridge Dude. Hey, Jen. It definitely it is. It's got chapters. It's got chapters. It doesn't have page numbers. It does have so like I said, he has like a whole chapter on like the media, but he does go back to talking about the media quite often. Talks about like the true crime industry, talks about podcasters, that kind of stuff. So he's being turned away by a lot of the mainstream media. So he starts reaching out to private investigators, and he gets a hold of one named Jason Jensen. And so he starts talking with Jason, and is giving Jason all of this information and whatnot. And then hold on, I have this clip. Thank you to ATS News. I'm going to get my screen up for you guys. Where did I put it? I think it's this one. Yeah. He does. He also believes that Ron Logan is Bridge Guy. Yeah. I don't know if he still believes that, but the last he publicly was talking about a suspect. I mean, I think he did. I think he's done somewhere he's talked about Richard Allen, and I'm kind of at the point where I actually think that they might believe that Richard Allen and Ron Logan did it, that there's two of them, and that they work together. But we're going to go through some of those. So he talks about that he hooks Jason Jensen up basically with Vinnie Politan, and that Jason gets to go on Court TV. He chooses to, and Chris Todd chooses to not go with him so that he can kind of stay in the background and get more of the information. I think it's this one. So he says right after the search warrant is released, which I believe was in May. So this is in June of 2022. That Jason Jensen goes on with Vinny. So I'm going to play it for you guys. He's on there a couple times after Richard Allen's arrest. He doesn't. Oh, I have a whole bunch of clips to show you guys. So we'll go through them, and then we could talk about each one. You guys hear it okay? We want to make sure you guys can hear it before I just play it. Yeah, I don't care about being right either. Did he though? Freckled Joy? This is kind of that was one of my questions. Like as a hired person, because that's where I'm kind of at. Okay, can you guys hear that or not? Just want to make sure you guys can hear it. As a hired person? Okay, so that's going to be that I was wondering that earlier as I was reading some things that he says. So no, you cannot hear it. Okay, fine, then don't hear it, and I'll redo it. You can't hear that because I don't even have it on the screen. I'm just going to listen to it without you. You hear it? Everybody good with sound? You've never been called to NBH? Okay, everybody's good. You guys can hear it. Okay. Well, I just think that we all have the same information, and we all see that same information very differently. There are some I know that are, have access to the extra tidbits, which helps them form an opinion. And it's ironic because I feel like there's definitely like two camps with that are getting extra information, and yet their opinions are going like really far apart. So I'm like, are you guys like not? Are you getting the same info? Are you getting different info? Like, how are you guys so far apart here? So, and I'm just like, I'm not sold either way. So I think that leaves me in a very different position than a lot of people, because some people are adamant that Richard Allen is innocent and some are adamant that Richard Allen is the right guy. And I'm just not either one. That he absolutely could be the right guy. He absolutely could be the wrong guy. He absolutely could be part of the right guys if it's a group. I have no freaking clue. I just am not sold on anything. I give myself evidence and I'm like, okay, take this and look at it and understand that these are the things that they have. Can you infer that he's the guy? I'm like, okay, I can do it. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Well, what about this? And then what about that? I'm like, well, that counteracts that. So then I'm like, oh, then I'm back and forth, and I can't figure it out. I'm Rick's guilty of kidnapping. You are. So do you think there was somebody else on the other side that was waiting? Or are you of the belief that they were taken somewhere else and brought back? I'd be curious to know that. Noticed a couple different things today from the memo. I think teens did buy the evidence. JC Marty, I'm confused by that statement. Did you say something else that maybe it goes with? Oh, Gail, thank you so much. There's a reverse F tree. It's like, oh yeah, there you go. There's an F tree. Oh, you did say so. There is no BG guy. It's just a picture of a man on an unknown time or date by an unknown person taking a video or a picture. To the public, it's whether you believe or don't believe that what they're telling us, because we haven't seen any of that yet. We have no experts that have come out and said, yes, this video was taken at 2:13 p.m. We don't even know where it was recorded. We don't know if she was recording on an app. Was she recording just on her phone? There's not. They just say that Libby took this video, and us, the public, wanting to just think they're telling us the truth, we believe it. And I mean, I'm inclined to believe it. So, but it's such an interesting thought. Like, they're not telling us what time anything happened. There's no timestamps for us to know anything. So we just either have to take it or not take it. Oh, CDEP. Okay, that makes sense. I think BG is RA and someone else young guy pick waiting at end of bridge with gun. Also, I think it was a group. I think I struggle with the RA being in a group because we just don't know enough about him to understand that he has any connections to any group. That's a struggle for me. Like, what group? What group was he with? Who were his friends? You know what I mean? Someone was at the S end also. So I don't think RL was there or is BG. But what if someone involved hiked up the hill to RL's house after the unaliving and told him what time it happened? RL was said to have had a party the night before. Yeah, there was a lot of talk about there being a group of people at Ron Logan's property at over that weekend. But I've never been able to see. Nobody's ever been able to like show who was there, like photos or pictures or. Yeah, isn't it ironic? Logan lies about his alibi. Allen comes forward. Allen's arrested, not the man who literally asked someone to lie for him before the crime was discovered. I do believe that they thought it was Ron Logan at one point. My initial thought is, though, I think they thought it was Brad Weber. That's who I think they thought it was to begin with. And that's why we don't see searches at Ron Logan's house immediately until March. Like the first one there is like March 6th. So then they turn to Ron Logan, or this is when they're starting to divide and conquer, because you also have Maxwell, and that's actually the first search warrant that's served almost right away on Bicycle Road, and that's Logan Maxwell's parents' house. I don't know. Maybe it was just a big divide and conquer. Just see what that's when they're just trying to gather as much information as possible. But I think that they thought my thought is they thought Brad Weber. They went to his house a few times, or his mom's house, or however you want to look at it, his house now. And then they were going over to Ron Logan's house. They were looking over there, and they got him on the probation violation, the driving without a license. And then I think that he didn't say anything. He didn't crack. He didn't say anything. He didn't give them any indication that he was the right guy, which I think is what they were hoping for. And then they had to keep going. They had to continue on. Because at the same time, they were also doing like Jimmy Duvall. They had like a whole little widespread. What if Brick was being blackmailed to participate? Well, now what would he have done? I mean, we'd have to go travel down like what. We don't know enough about him, so what would he have done to have to be blackmailed for? Did he do something bad? Never confuse people with facts when they have already made up their minds. Simple. RA and KK are connected. How, though? How are they connected? Because, I mean, I can say, yeah, they're connected. They both used to live in the same city. So where's the connection? I think that's a big question. You got the people think that RA is connected to Anna because Anna used to drink at the same bar. So are they more connected? I mean, literally, they live down the road from each other. And then if you look at like Cody Patty, like then is he connected? Is there a connection there? If you look at like Derek German, is there a connection there? David Erskine, is there a connection there? You see what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a town of 3,000 people. It's really freaking hard to say that people aren't connected, but I would be very curious if there could be a proven connection between Richard Allen and Tony Klein, or Richard Allen and Keegan Klein. Right. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to say is they were all dividing and going different ways, because the FBI is who actually puts the warrant for Ron Logan's property to do the extended search. Weber's the property where the bridge ended. Yes. That's the house that's right there. That's right there. Here are the connections. 4 teens with only 2 photos. Cheyenne with 3 pictures of an empty bridge. Well, one of them has feet. Is that considered empty? 3 teens that are not mentioned in the PCA and 2 under the bridge. I don't know about 2 under the bridge, because I know that got kind of confusing when it went from flannel shirt guy to Derek to Becky Patty, and Becky Patty kind of changed it in one of the interviews about it being under the bridge. But if you go back to like the original statements, nobody really says it under the bridge. They say at the bridge or by the bridge. I don't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, 3 pictures of an empty bridge, and they're posted after they're taken. So they're not taken and posted. They're posted way down the line, supposedly. Because that's the other thing, is like there's that screenshot that's floating around to Snapchat that has the 3:49 timestamp on it, but Snapchat didn't put timestamps on it. So that's confusing too. So where the hell did timestamp come from? If they prosecuted instead of plea bargained other crimes vigorously, someone would have turned in more info. That's an interesting comment. If there is more voice evidence from Libby's phone that wasn't released to the public, I imagine it has been compared by FBI Ellie to RA's voice and RL's voice. True. And according to the affidavits, they do state that no, I think that was the girls that said that. I don't know if they actually, no, I think that was the girls they were talking about. I don't know if he says anything else. Hey, the Rockaways. That he doesn't fit this crime. I agree. The person carrying the duffel bag, wasn't that the one wife, Lilith? Show us pictures of Brad Weber, please. Did I have any of those yet? Let me see if I have them. There you go. Did I get too far behind the chat? Yeah, the JC Bar crowd. Yep. All right, I'm skipping over some. Sorry, guys. They took other pics that were posted days after. Libby took pics of trees. The girl said it was like they were walking through middle of forest. She took the pics down. Okay, so who's they, wife Lilith? The Libby, because there's supposedly other pictures that Libby took. Is that who you mean? You heard 2019. I always thought 2021, but I have nothing concrete that says that. Hey, Stumblegrape. Those Vinlanders are definitely the group friends of the non-conspicuous personas like Bridge Guy, Ron Logan, and Keegan Kline. It's not a stretch to think a biker gang stirs up trouble. I agree with you there, too. If KK and Ari are connected, Ellie should know by now. KK didn't use a VPN as far as we know. Yeah, I think they would know. And like I've said, there is... something has to do with Keegan Kline because he's still wrapped up in this. So whether it's that he was falsely confessing, whether it was just his role in talking to the girls or just Libby, and he's still tied into the case no matter what. He has a tie to it. We don't have all the evidence. There's no phone dump from Keegan's main phone. He wiped it. Libby factory reset her phone days before the murders, and Alan probably covered his tracks too. Right. I don't know what kind of trail you're going to get because, I mean, if you go with what the defense is saying, there's nothing tying Richard Allen to the girls electronically. So that means even if it was a burner phone or it was any of those things, they don't have it. If they're telling the truth, which I think they probably are, because they're not just going to go in there and make it up. They didn't have it by the 18th of September. I should say that because we do know they got other dumps. Isn't the recording 43 seconds long? It is. But I have a theory on why that doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to what else is on there. And I'll talk to you guys about that. Yeah, okay, thank you. But it been distorted. What we've heard is cleaned up. We've never heard anything raw. We've never watched a raw video of Bridge Guy. We've never watched or listened to the raw sound. I think that's a big deal. Why not put both? Why not put both out there? Don't mess with it. I'm curious. No, like electronically or with anything like that, because there are people who do. The people who believe that Richard Allen is the guy do think that he went home and he did things that he, did kind of clean up after himself. You think they were taken somewhere else? There's a lot of people who think that. Hey, Wicked West Paranormal. It also states there was nothing on Libby's phone connecting to Richard Allen either. Yeah, there's nothing electronically and nothing like physically. There's no DNA or anything like that. Okay, let me show you guys. Do I have it up still? I don't. Let me grab it real quick. This is the Google Earth one, so the brush isn't the same. But it doesn't matter for what I'm going to show you. So just take it with a grain of salt, because obviously this is a lot more green. It's a lot more green than it would have been then, but I didn't pull up the right Google. So, but like I said, it really doesn't matter for the purposes of what I'm going to show you. Okay, hold on. Okay, so if no, it doesn't. If the video / audio is 43 seconds long, right? And the end of the bridge is here. And we know that he says down the hill. Down the hill, there's only the two hills that are here. There's the one that kind of goes down just a little bit here, and then the bigger one goes down right here. So there's like two. So it could be either one of those hills, but I'm pretty sure I shouldn't say pretty sure. My thought process is that he says it right here at the end. And he's like down the hill, right? Go off the bridge, go down the hill. I think that's kind of the general consensus, but it is possible that it's, the next little hill that they're talking about, the next hill to go down. I slapped my knee. That's it. I slapped my knee when they mentioned a biker gang and Odin Keegan Klein. Although his looks throw you off, everybody had something to say about him, like a jock persona. Yeah, that's true. J-Turn, didn't Liggett also say, or maybe Todd, at the first motion to transfer hearing that they found nothing connecting RA to the girls in the search? I think at that point they only knew about the bullet. That's the only thing that they had found, which makes sense because there was only a few things that had been tested by that hearing. If you go through the search warrant on the right side of what they found, and it's not, I shouldn't say don't go through the search warrant. You have to go through the, what is it called? It's called the search warrant objection. If you go through the search warrant objection, there's only 3 spots on there that actually are checked that had been tested by the time he was arrested, so in his first hearing. Okay, so if you look at it and you think, okay, he says that, and he's supposedly saying down the hill at the end of the audio, right? At the end. So that means it's at the last few seconds. So let's just say it's at the 40-second mark, or it's at the 38, whatever you want to think right there. That's all happening right over here. Now, if there's that much video and even some more audio right here, it's going to go back here. It has to be recording from back here. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not recording over here. It's recording here. So the whole point of that is they're not recording him necessarily talking to them, right? At this point, this is all just a really quick interaction. So that was my whole point. The video / audio has to be from more on the bridge. It can't be from over here if that's the end of the video. And I know we went past that, like, I don't know, probably 10 comments ago on why we were talking about it. Here, I'll show you guys this real quick, just because I have it up already so that we can talk. So at the time of the search warrant, not the time of the search warrant, at the time of the PCA, the things that had been examined are the box that had his Black Sig Sauer. It's the .40 caliber cartridge, and then there's all these aren't marked yet. This is what they collected but not tested. So here is the cutting of a carpeted area underneath the spare tire of the Ford Focus. The only thing we hear about right off the bat is the bullet matching. But for me, that's why at the beginning of this, I was like, okay, well, they still have a lot of processing to do. Like, they still collected all this evidence. That not all that evidence is tested. They're going to have a whole bunch more stuff that they're going to end up coming up with by the time this goes to trial. And so it just became very interesting. I kind of just let it go, and I moved on, and I was talking about other cases and doing whatever. And it just became very interesting to me when the defense attorneys were like, no, we want cameras in the courtroom. We want the world to see what's happening. And I was like, well, that's weird, because we have Idaho over here who they don't want cameras. And then we have Delphi over here who say, like, the defense attorneys are fighting for cameras. So it just brought my attention back to it. And then, of course, as everybody knows, September 18th rolls around, we get the memorandum, and I haven't left. Oh, hold on. I meant the search results of RA's devices, not the ballistic test on the bullet. I thought defense questioned them about that the first time at the hearing. If they did, I don't remember that from the first hearing, but that's very possible. It's very possible, Jay Turner, and I trust your memory. So they are separate. The video and the audio do not go together, but they are what part of one thing, supposedly. You see him walking, and then there's then you hear him. Like, it's been speculated, like she puts her phone in her pocket. Okay, let me go back here. Where was I at? Yeah, no digital evidence connecting the girls to Richard Allen. No DNA matching Richard Allen and the girls. people are speculating that there's like a partial, but nobody's not ever seen that proven anywhere. And according to the defense, there's nothing that matches. So they cut the carpet out and took it for testing. Why is that not coming up when I clicked on? There it goes. Okay, so I'm going to play this so you guys, we're going to go back to, you guys get me talking in like 1,000 different directions. We go from like, I'm like, we're going back to what we were talking about. And hopefully you guys can still hear it.
Welcome back. The probable cause warrant that was obtained and released by the Murder Sheet podcast specifically states that Ronald Logan is physically similar to that suspect we just saw in the cell phone video taken by Libby German. That's how the document reads. Logan's physical build is consistent with that of the male suspect videoed by Libby on the Monon High Bridge.
Now I have to talk about this because he's like 6'2", 6'3". Ron Logan is like, he's tall. So the fact that his physical build is consistent with that of the male suspect on the bridge, how in the world are they going to now say that Richard Allen, whether he's 5'4" or 5'6", because there's still argument back and forth on which one he is, but he's no bigger than 5'6". Those are not consistent with each other. This is a whole nother, like, they don't match. They don't match. See, I disagree. I don't think you can clearly see anything in that. They have it so distorted that we cannot tell who it is. And then that is why when Carter's asked about it, he's like, no, just look at the body. He puts his hand over it, and he puts his hand over the face, and he's like, no, just look at the body. Look at the body. Look at the way he's walking. Like, don't look at the face, because they know it's so bad. It's so bad. You cannot. I just think you can do whatever you want. For me, I can't. That face, it like means nothing. You clean the pickup with software. Do you have that like on your channel? Where do you have it? Yeah, this is the FBI saying that Ron Logan's consistent. Ellie is legally allowed to lie, but they're not allowed to lie in motions, which is why I consistently try to cover the motions and what they're saying back and forth, because they're not supposed to lie there. They can get in trouble for lying in that. Now, can they take pieces and word it the way that it needs to be worded? Yes, but they cannot just come out and just lie in their motions. But they can lie to the public. They absolutely can. And they can lie to the suspects and the persons of interest. It's not inconsistent. So it's not inconsistent, which means it's not consistent, but it's not inconsistent.
And it also states that Logan's voice is not inconsistent with that of the person in the video. Interesting. Ronald Logan spoke with a reporter from Indianapolis news station WTHR the day after the bodies of Abby and Libby were discovered in 2017. And take a look at his appearance. I mean, tan hat, blue windbreaker. Let's watch some of what he told WTHR back in February of 2017.
Who would have thought they'd let their children out to do something special that day, take a trip down, and then turn out a disaster like this? The area that they were in is very hard to get to. I mean, you can't get there unless you walk there. I mean, so somebody would be walking with them or something.
Wow. Let's bring our guest back in. Joining us tonight in Winchester, Virginia, body language expert, Dr. Stephen Langston. In Salt Lake City, Utah, private investigator Jason Jensen. And still with us in Indianapolis, Indiana, the co-podcasters of Murder Sheet. Again, folks, check it out. It's got everything. Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee still with us. Stephen Langston, want to ask you first, as we took a look at Ronald Logan in that interview with the news, local news comes around, microphone. Anything strike you about what he...
I just want to make it clear. I do not, and am not saying that Ron Logan is the guy. I'm also not saying he's not the guy. Because I, as anybody knows who's listened to me, I'm not sold in any direction whatsoever. I do not think it was Ron Logan, but I do have another little side theory that ATS News and I have been kind of discussing that I don't know. I don't know why I'm stuck on it, but I'll talk to you guys about that. But I just want to make it clear. So if you guys think it's Ron Logan, that's fine. If you don't think it's Ron Logan, that's also fine. I'm not going to get an argument from me either way.
He said or how he said it.
There's two things that really stand out in that particular cut. You see his shoulders are constantly doing this shrugging motion here, which is could be, could not be. I'm not really sure, but he's saying some very definitive things about how it's not possible. But he keeps doing this. You can't unsee that. Whenever a person's talking about, they're really uncertain about what they're trying to say, that shoulder shrug kicks into play. But really, I focus in on his mouth there. He is showing some signs of disgust. You can see the corner of his mouth pulling down. It's hidden by his glasses. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you could see some of that scrunching of his nose, but he has this real just kind of I'm sick to my stomach, or I'm disgusted with either what's happening, what I'm saying. Of course, we don't know what's going on in his mind by any means, but he's definitely showing some very serious signs of disgust as he's talking through this part.
Jason Jensen, private investigator. I know you've been taking a very close look at this case. Your thoughts about Ronald Logan and the video that we see, Ronald Logan, what he looks like, it's his property. And you've got investigators here saying there are consistencies in his general build and the build of the person in the video.
Well, yes, exactly, Vinny. Where the FBI agent says there's consistency with this build, we can go on a step further and say that the actual jacket that he's worn 2 days later during the interview is very similar, if not the exact jacket. And that ball cap has even the same dimples across the top, that if you didn't know better, you'd say that this is indeed this individual being video recorded. But law enforcement hasn't come out and said that. They've just said this is the suspect. But looking the two, comparing the two side by side, it looks like the exact same person. You just don't have the visual clarity with the Snapchat video that you have with the reporter recording.
Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee, your thoughts and what have you uncovered about Ron?
So I don't know if you guys want to listen to that part of it too. These are some older ones, so it's interesting to go back and just listen to what they, what they think and what they say at the time. If you guys want to listen to more of the whole thing, I really wanted to play the part with Jason Jensen, but I can play the whole thing too.
Ronald Logan, the way he looks, his physical attributes, right? We're looking for this guy in the video. Are there things that you've noticed or picked up that are either consistent or inconsistent with that being a match?
One thing we can say is that some of his people who knew him basically said to law enforcement in the warrant that they felt that the bridge guy, so to speak, looked like Ron Logan. So there was some feeling among people who knew him that it could be him.
So people who actually, and this is what I've been saying all along. I'm like, I look at that video, and if someone knows that person, I think they would recognize him. Do we know if those folks came forward voluntarily, like early on, once the video is released, saying, hey, did they pick up the phone and say, hey, that could be Ronald Logan?
In the probable cause affidavit that the FBI agent wrote to secure the warrant, she specifically says that there were 15 tips from the public, people who came forward with information that they believe connected Logan to the murders.
Wow. So Here we are, Jason Jensen. Again, at 5.
Okay, I don't know why they're sitting like that. I can't handle it. Spicy brought it up earlier in the chat. Now 2 other people have said it. I don't know why they're sitting like that. It's so awkward. It is. I don't know. It is a very weird. They didn't have a big enough couch. I don't know. I don't know. But now I can't stop looking at it. They're sharing headphones. Yeah, they do share headphones. I think that they should have enough to buy an extra set of headphones at this point, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just like he's sitting like, I don't know. It's weird. Nobody does that. Nobody does that comfortably. Is that, where's the video, Cheryl? Is it on your channel, or where do you have it? I'd watch it. Awkward is their brand. When you both squeeze into one chair, this is what happens. Hey, Laura. I can't stop. I know, I'm like, I want you guys to pay attention to what Jason Jensen's saying. You can't. Thank you, Jackie. They want a divorce. Are they even married? I don't know. I don't even care. I don't.
5 years. 5 years. And again, investigators not. And I understand. I'm a former prosecutor. I know what it takes to prove a case beyond any and all reasonable doubt. But I'm seeing circumstances here, Jason. Someone looking to make up an alibi. Looking for a fake alibi. Yeah, he's got another argument for it. But then it's his property, 1,400 feet from his backyard. 1,400 feet from his backyard. Don't we look at like the closest people first, Jason?
Yes, they always do. They always look to see who was either in close proximity to the victims and the crime scene, as well as relatives or somebody that may have a motive to cause this, a death of somebody. But here we got, under the totality of the circumstances, a lot of different things that come together and portray a picture that Ronald Logan is likely the murderer here.
Let me ask you, Anya, the video that they released, is there, I presume there's a much longer video and they've just released a little piece of it. What do we know about that? And what do we know about the way the man on the bridge is walking? So many people have talked about that through the years. Is it an optical illusion because it's a short video that we're looping, or is there something to the way he walks?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know that it is a longer recording that they have from Libby's phone. It's about 53 seconds long, and the conversation, the guys down the hill, happens at the end of that video. So in terms of how he's moving, people have speculated that a lot. Some people think he looks like he's limping. Others look like it's a unusual gait, perhaps. One thing that, if you've actually been to the site, it's a terrifying bridge. Basically, it looks like it would be difficult to walk on. It's very spaced out. It's very high up. It looks like it's rotting. And so I've always wondered if this was a person who was unaccustomed to being up there and maybe just a little bit nervous. I will note that Mr. Logan was in his 70s at the time of the murders. So that has made some people wonder, is a man in his 70s going to be able to just kind of casually stroll across this with such ease?
Stephen Langston, do you see anything in the way he's moving his body? Does that tell you anything? It's just a short piece of that video as we take a look at the bridge here.
You definitely can see him looking down. Now, whether or not that is trying to hide the face or he is looking, you look at the picture there with that separation between the rails. It is a treacherous thing. It could be a gate, but having his head down, hands in his pockets, it was also cold. There's lots of things there that could be. Very circumstantial, though. Walking across that bridge, I'd probably have my eyes pointed down, too, wanting to know what I was sitting on.
Yeah, and by the way, I would never myself walk across that bridge. Stephen Langston, appreciate your insight tonight. Joining us tonight in Virginia. Great to see you again. Anya, Kevin, Jason Jensen, all staying with us. When we come back, let's timeline, February this year when the superintendent's speaking, Kevin, Ronald Logan, the man we've been talking about tonight, has passed away. At the time he spoke in February, was Ronald Logan alive?
At the time the superintendent spoke in February, Ronald Logan had already passed away. And that's an interesting point to make because during the course of that interview, Superintendent Carter made it clear that he thought that the person responsible for these crimes was still alive. And certainly behind the scenes, we hear from police that they are more interested in the Klein angle than in the Ronald Logan angle.
It's fascinating, and we're going to get into that in just a second. Erica Morse, great to see you. We've been talking a lot about what Murder Sheet uncovered, the warrant from the FBI. We looked at
what Murder Sheet uncovered. I'm pretty sure they were actually just handed that document, but that's neither here nor there. We can discuss that at a different time. But the reason I wanted you guys to see that was because of Jason Jensen, and I know it takes on a life of its own. But Chris Todd says in his book, he says, you know, that I'm going to try to find the spot so I can just tell you what he says. I brought Jason onto this case, and I also leaked things to Court TV, which in turn triggered the episode with Vinny and Jason. The reason I stayed off the program was, one, because most networks fear me and my work, and two, is that I need to stay in the shadows because that's where my most powerful work can be done, is under the cover of darkness. And I was telling you guys, he throughout the book, that is one theme that he does have, is he talks about light and dark and things that are done in light and things that are done in dark, and how he really doesn't have, he will play on both sides. He does not really care. He will do the things that he has to do because he firmly believes that his job is to kill the killer. That's what he's doing. He's not, he's doing things for the victims. He's not doing things for the family. He's not doing things for law enforcement. He's doing things to find answers for the victims, and he doesn't care what that takes. He's like, you can call it dirty, you can call it underhanded, you can call it essentially whatever you want to, but that's how he says that he does his investigation. So he does not care. He will leak information. The only thing that he really kind of stands behind is not giving up sources' names, but that he will actually, he doesn't care about leaking the information. That's fine for him. So I found that interesting just because of everything that we've talked about recently when it comes to all these leaks and how it does tie back to Chris Todd on Court TV talking about the leaks. I know, I couldn't even take it seriously. I couldn't even like I wanted you guys to watch that, but it wasn't. I should have known better. I should have known better. Hi, Captain Howdy. Good to see you. So he says Jason spouts Ron Logan's name, and rather softly, he doesn't go listing all the pieces of evidence, nor does he connect all the dots for lack of time, but he puts it out there that Ron Logan is most likely the killer. And then by doing this interview, that's what he does. Yes, he kills the killer. More than once he talks about that. That's his goal, because he is his own source. All his, I can't highlight that, wife Lilith. So he talks about after this interview, and why I wanted you guys to see it, because it says after this interview, by them talking about Ron Logan, there's whistleblowers from LE that start contacting Jason Jensen. Remember, this video, this interview right here that's up on the screen was done in June of 2022. There was no Richard Allen yet. So that's why you're not hearing anything on here about Richard Allen. There is no Richard Allen. Nobody knows anything about a Richard Allen yet. This is June of 2022. It's after the search warrant for Ron Logan is released. So so law enforcement officers who are essentially unhappy with the way that the investigation has gone, unhappy with, things that have happened, decide to start writing to Jason Jensen. That's the important part about that. So let me find the next one that I wanted to tell you. So talks about that these that there was multiple different people in law enforcement that contacted Jason. They talked to these people on the phone, and he tells them, like, I'm not going to say your names, and he doesn't say their names in here at all, but he does say that all the information that they give him is going to be leaked, whether they give him permission or not. That's what he's going to do. He's going to leak all of it. Ultimately, they do give him permission to use whatever they said without saying their names. So that was important. He says that Jason received forensic photographic layouts done by one of the foremost experts in the field, and it points directly to Ron Logan. Now, I meant to save this, and it's been floating around. I'll just show you guys. It's been floating around because I've seen these, so I think you guys are probably going to get this off the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. These have been on different Facebook groups. So it's like a comparison, an analysis of Ron Logan and BG and how he fits the bill. They use the photo of Ron Logan walking his dog that was captured by news footage, and that's how they're comparing. So it says that Jason does have it compared, and it's consistent with Ron Logan. So the law enforcement officers end up writing their statements, and without even really knowing Jason, and Jason was surprised, and he asked me to interpret what was really happening. Chris says, I told him, they want to talk. They've wanted to talk for a long time. You guys are killing me. So one of the whistleblowers, he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't say names, and he doesn't say where they work or anything like that. So let me just get you the essential of this one. So it's like, there are several of us that blank and strongly believe that Ronald Logan committed the murders. However, the powers that be do not agree with us, and they are going after this Keegan Klein. I do not believe it is him or any of his contacts that committed these murders. I've spoken to several blank, along with taking a few blank. The ones that believe it was more than likely Ronald Logan, who committed the murders, have been pressured by our blank, specifically or especially blank of the blank, to keep our mouth shut. It's very sad that this investigation has taken the course it has. The confusion about the second sketch leaves everybody confused. Now, this is something I wanted to ask you guys about, and your interpretation of what I'm about to read to you. So he says, the confusion about the second sketch leaves everybody confused. The second sketch was purposely drawn up to try and match a suspect that they had with another murder. They thought by releasing that sketch, it would bring in solid tips that would point to that other person. It never did, and it never will. It derailed the investigation. Now, by second sketch, is that the first released, or is that the second sketch released? Because that can become confusing, because as we all know, the first sketch that was released was actually the second sketch made. Or it's not even the second one. That's inaccurate, because there's other sketches that are done in between there, but it's the second of the two. I'll just say that. Thank you, Cheryl. I'll take a look at it. So that's the problem. So is he referring to the first sketch that was released, second sketch in those? Yeah, I think he's saying young guy sketch confused us. Right. But we had heard before that it was actually the old bridge guy sketch that was made to look like somebody on purpose. See, this is where shit gets really confusing, and it goes all haywire, because it's not fluid. Oh, thank you for joining, Lee Cook. The second sketch was the first one made. Young Bridge Guy was first sketch made, but second released. Right. So which one are they referring to that was created to try to lure somebody from another homicide? And this is supposedly, once again, that's not my words. That's the words in here. So you can take it, leave it, throw it away, do whatever you want with it. There's two more emails. This one was also kind of interesting. It just talks about, like, I received word that an attorney is going to take on my case in reference to me being blank and a few other things. I will check with him about the whistleblower protection and ask him. It doesn't say that that's the same person, so I don't really know. All right, let me get to the next part here. Okay. Hi, Thistle. Let me see what you guys are saying. The fact that he fell through the cracks and was never interviewed by law enforcement again was sheer luck on his part. He went into hiding after that. Laid low, kept low. I don't think that he had a big presence to begin with. I don't think he had to really lay low because I don't think that he did much. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, you guys. Can you give me just 1 second? I got to go take care of my tiny human real quick. He needs me. I'll be right back. Fill the silence with laughter. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. I should have let the other video play. I should have. So you guys could have watched that. Where was I at? What was I saying? I think we're going to go to the next video. Let's go to the next one. Let me see if this is the right one. Nope. Yeah, I think it's this one. Okay, so now this is on News Nation, and it's also very interesting because he talks about News Nation in his book, and he's not their biggest fan, but he goes on here anyway. So I think at this time he's decided he wrote the book, he's done. You know, he's shared all of his wisdoms with all of us, and you're watching Murdoch. We're talking about the book written by Chris Todd called Forest for the Trees. That's what we're doing tonight. I should have set this up before I left, but he needed me, so I had to go. Sorry. Where's Coffin Daffer at? All right, let me rewind it. Just a little bit. Okay, play this one for you. If you can't hear it, let me know.
Logan, however, was never charged, and he died in 2020. Joining us now to break down the latest information and provide some context here is former FBI agent Jennifer Coffendorfer, investigative producer and author Chris Todd, and private investigator Jason Jensen. Thank you so much all for being here. And Jennifer, I do want to start with you.
So this is now November of 2022. There has been an arrest, unlike the last one.
Former FBI agent Nicole Robertson swore under oath that she believes evidence of a homicide was located at the residence of Ronald Logan, and the girls were found on his property. Why was he never arrested?
He wasn't arrested basically because the individuals who were in charge of the investigation felt he was too old to have committed a crime like this. And so much of the information and the probable cause developed was sort of brushed aside. Also, keep in mind that affidavit was not served until a month after the crime was committed. This was huge because it allowed for Mr. Logan, if he did commit this crime, to remove, dispose of, clean evidence that could have otherwise linked him to the crime. So those two factors resulted in him not being charged.
And Jennifer, we'll stick with you for a moment. The FBI discovered that Ronald Logan lied about his alibi, where he was on the night of the girls' murder. His cousin admitted to lying to the feds. Wouldn't that be enough for an arrest?
Well, that's not enough, but that is a crucial point. Why did he want her to lie? And actually, he asked her to lie well in advance of even that interview. So it's a situation that seemed very calculated and premeditated in terms of covering up what he was or was not involved in concerning their murders.
Hold on a second. Did Coffendorfer just say, hold on,
he was or was not a situation that seemed very calculated and premeditated in terms of covering up what he was or was not involved in concerning their murders.
And Chris, can I turn to you? You just released, and
Chris,
Jennifer, we'll stick with you for a moment. The FBI discovered that Ronald...
That's not enough, but that is a crucial point. Why did he want her to lie? And
who's her? The cousin he asked to lie is a guy. It's not a her. What's she talking about?
And actually, he asked her to lie well in advance of even that interview. So it's a situation that seemed very calculated and premeditated in terms of covering up what he was or was not involved in concerning their murders.
And Chris, can I turn to you? You just...
I was like, wait a minute. Is she talking about the same case? I'm like, is she talking about the alibi? Hi, Humanimal. Oh, she thought he was BG too? I didn't know that. Yeah. No, she's talking about Ron Logan and having Ron Logan lie about his alibi. I'm going to go back because I want to make sure that I'm not just making shit up.
With you for a moment. The FBI discovered that Ronald Logan lied about his alibi, where he was on the night of the girls' murder. His cousin admitted to lying to the feds. Wouldn't that be enough for an arrest?
Well, that's not enough, but that is a crucial point. Why did he want her to lie? And actually, he asked her to lie well in...
It's a dude. It's a dude. And get this, the cousin lives over by the Kleins. Goodness. I don't know what she's talking about. All right, let's move on. That wasn't even the point of it. See, I end up watching all these and getting all these little...
You just released a book on the Delphi murders. What did you find in your investigation?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And out of protection of all the parties here today, I do want to say that, this is through my investigation, Jason and we opine that Ron Logan killed Abby and Libby. And this is a 4-year investigation also in my relationship with some of the family members that I worked on the case for free. And I brought Jason in to help me, and Jason brought a lot of knowledge to the case that I wanted some outside help.
Okay, so to be clear, he's sitting here saying he worked on the case for 4 years. That's not what he says in his book. He says that he knew about the case when it happened. He says that He didn't get involved. He didn't get involved because he knew that it was going to be a process for them. It wasn't like it was a cold case, which is where he really likes to kind of focus at. He lets it go until about 2019 when they still nothing's happening with the case. You know, they haven't found anybody. And he's like, wait a minute, we have audio, we have video, we have, you know, how are they not catching this guy? So he's like, okay, I'll get involved. And he starts talking with one of the girls' moms on social media. And then when nobody wants to listen to him about it being Ron Logan, he says he leaves the case for 2 years and he doesn't come back. So essentially he works on it for 2019 because nobody listens to what he has to say. So he leaves. And then he comes back to the case when the Ron Logan search warrant comes out, which is the beginning of 2022. Now, this is November of 2022. So there's not a 4-year investigation here. I just want to make sure that that's very clear. That is not a true statement. Well, maybe he's looking into things on the side. I don't know, but
help on. And I do believe that Ron Logan was responsible for the murders of Abby and Libby.
What is the most compelling piece of evidence that turned to your mind about this?
In 2019, I told the families and ISP and Carroll County that I believed it was Ron Logan. And I'm a bit of an outsider. I'm out here in California, so I understand that they didn't want to listen to me. I walked away for about 2 years, and I worked on other cases. When the FBI search warrant was leaked, and no one still knows how that was leaked, I saw Ron Logan's name all over this search warrant, and then it started to corroborate him saying, well, if this FBI agent is pointing out these cell phone pings, this lying about the alibi, he has the same gait, walk, his appearance is the same, his voice is not inconsistent with Bridge Guy. So I do believe that Ron Logan is Bridge Guy.
Can you help lay out the evidence that our viewers may not know about this case?
Well, this thing's moving 1,000 miles an hour right now. And with the Richard Allen, what I'm hearing right now, which is kind of scaring me, is Richard Allen may very well be the accomplice with Ron Logan. There is no scenario where it's just Richard Allen. So I think the best evidence comes from the FBI, the agent that listed the cell phone pinging in the vicinity of the Monon Bridge at the time of the murders, and also pinging at the bodies at 8 p.m. and 10:15 p.m. So the alibi is big. There were multiple people that came forward that said Ron Logan was violent, that he had threatened to murder people before. And I think the video of the Bridge Guy itself, the clothing, and I think Jason can touch upon that too, I think it's right in front of us. That's why I named my book Forest for the Trees. They can't see what's right in front of them.
Jason, I do want to bring you in. Can you talk a little bit more about what evidence you found compelling here? And what do you make of the idea that Ron Logan was simply too old to do something like this?
Yeah, the first thing that really caught my attention to this is Bridge Guy was wearing that classic blue jacket we've seen numerous times and a camo ball cap. 2 days after the murder, Ron Logan's wearing the exact same attire while being interviewed by a reporter. So that's the first thing that cued me in. It's like, oh my gosh, this is his property. The girls were murdered on his land, and he's got the audacity to wear the same clothing at the time of an interview while he's acting completely nonchalant and oblivious to the crimes themselves being committed where he had perfect access to. And what was your second question?
I was just asking about what was compelling to you. Why do you believe that it is actually Ron Logan?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, for starts, was his appearance matched the Bridge Guy, and then all the evidence that was outlined by not only the FBI, but we have whistleblowers that Chris Todd writes about in his book that came forward to tell us that the only thing that excluded them from going after Ron Logan was simply his age, which we know age is not a disqualifier. Disability is a disqualifier. Just because he's 77 doesn't mean he's not capable of committing a heinous crime like this.
So, Jason, you don't believe he was too old to commit something like this?
No. He was well able to traverse up and down the hill. There's plenty of footage of him doing that. After the murders, he was proud to take people to the crime scene and show them where the murders happened. It's not like he was infirmed or anything like that, where he didn't have mobility on his own property. He was well capable of moving about.
Jennifer, I want to turn it over to you for final thoughts. Will the investigation into Logan be brought up potentially in Allen's trial? I mean, some might see him as the perfect fall guy because he isn't here to defend himself. He is no longer with us.
Well, that's a very good point. And I feel like in any trial, what a juror is going to have to look at is there reasonable doubt? And in this situation, if they are saying that Richard Allen is the only person responsible for these heinous crimes, unless they have very direct physical evidence, and if they are saying that Mr. Logan is not also linked, I think it could be an uphill battle in a jury, for a jury to make that conclusion.
Chris, I do want to ask one more question to you. What is your biggest concern as you're watching all of this unfold and a potential trial going forward for Allen as well?
I think it's a fascinating story, and I'm not trying to talk about it like a product or something like that, but this is a very unique situation. And my message would be to ISP and the Carroll County Sheriff, you have Richard Allen here, go get him. You know, I said it was Ron Logan. Jason helped me say that also. We had Leo Whistleblowers come to us saying they believed it was Ron Logan also. My job is pretty much done here. I do plan on walking away from this. I wrote the book. I came forward, stuck my neck out. I dedicated the book to Abby and Libby and to our nation that turned a blind eye. And I'm not trying to blame anyone. I'm just saying, moving forward, let's see what we have on Richard Allen. It's a fascinating story right now. And I think the ISP in Carroll County did a great job to finally find this guy. No one said this guy's name once. So they've done something right here at this point.
What role do you believe Allen did play, and what should he be held responsible for?
Well, if he is the accomplice, then they have the death penalty in Indiana, and I believe they will seek that. I do have some sources that kind of paint the picture, and I'll give a shout quickly to Delphi After Dark. That podcast, that they do paint a very compelling picture with this eyewitness at the plaza seeing a man in black clothing with a strange look. He could weave down to the property without going on the bridge. He could end up right at Ron Logan's property. So does Ron Logan call Richard Allen, who's on a burner phone, and say, it's on, let's go, and meet me down on my property? We don't know. I can't confirm or deny it, but right now, from everything I see, you have a double murder arrest. You have a $20 million bond. They have something on Richard Allen.
I appreciate this. It is a complicated case.
Okay. So, like I told you guys, Chris Todd has, from just watching him on all these news outlets for the last year, more specifically the last few months, he definitely rubbed me wrong. The positive about reading the book is I understand more now why he rubbed me wrong, and and even listening to him now, I'm not as like pushed, like what do you call it, like disconnected from him, or what, I don't know the right terminology that I'm looking for. But I can see that he's had his own life of ringers that he's had to deal with, and so I see that I'm trying to say this as nicely as I can. I see that his quirks are understandable for what he believes he's been through in his life, if that makes sense. Now, do I agree with him? No, I don't. But that's his theory. He has the right to have it, and he will tell us that 50,000 times in the book. He has the right to have his theory, and that's what he has. So let me move this down real quick so I can tell you guys the next part. Okay, so I keep saying so, but I don't mean to do that. I mean, he is adamant that Ron Logan is the guy. He thinks that Ron Logan is the guy. I just don't. You can't have Ron Logan be bridge guy and Richard Allen be bridge guy. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just like saying that the old guy sketch and the young guy sketch are the same person. That's not the same person. The people didn't see the same person. I don't care how you think they describe them. They're not the same person to me. Saying that 6'2", 6'3" Ron Logan is bridge guy and also Richard Allen is bridge guy, like that's not going to work. 5'4", 5'6", ain't going to happen. So he essentially wraps it up, and he just kind of puts everything into into his thought process. You stuck your neck out. This is not a contest or a game. Well, this is what I'm saying. He does things that are not necessarily above par to get answers, and he's okay with that. And this is where I say, like, I don't agree, because there's still a right way and a wrong way to do things, and he doesn't care about that part. He doesn't care about the right way and the wrong way. He just cares about getting to the truth and getting to the answers. So I think for that part is when I'm like, okay, I can see more of who he is, because he doesn't care about those things. But I don't agree with that. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I want to tell you guys, so at the end, he wraps it up. He's like, here's everything I know about about Ron Logan, and why I think that, he's the guy. This is from all of his sources, all of his information he's gathered over what I would say is a 2-year maybe investigation. But, and some of this I think has already kind of been proven inaccurate. But once again, this is the information he's received. So I'm just relaying it to you. You take it, do what you want with it. This is not my information. I'm the messenger at this point. So Libby had 3 cuts across her neck as if she struggled or fought. Abby had 1 small cut across her neck as if her kill strike was fast and or unsuspecting. Libby was found nude and her clothes were scattered. Some were found in Deer Creek. Abby was found wearing a hooded sweatshirt believed to be Libby's. Abby was supposedly nude from the waist down. And he quotes, or he puts in parentheses, he gets differing testimony regarding this. Both girls had been staged and posed. Libby was face up. Abby was leaned up against a tree with arms crossed. Both girls were forced at gunpoint to remove their clothes. Oh, thank you, Squeaky Wheel. I appreciate that. I like to disagree a little bit, My light's getting bad in here. Let me see. Per the crime scene investigation, there was not a rape, but some type of sexual assault was committed. One girl, and you guys, this gets a little tough, so if you don't want to listen to this, by all means, come back in a minute. One girl was supposedly assaulted with a tree branch, and that was thought to be done to confuse the sexual assault evidence. There is no DNA from Ron Logan on the bodies. So in parentheses, did he wear gloves? Did he clean the bodies afterward? As one source stated, see later notes about his cell phone pings near the bodies. Also, there's not always detectable DNA left behind at a murder scene. He's not wrong. It's true. A DNA hit came back, but was from one of the lab technicians who worked on the bodies. The crime scene was not preserved properly as multiple entry and exit paths were created. I do want to I should have prefaced this by saying, and so I'm going to stop myself. He does say none of us were there during the murders, so no one can say exactly what happened. I can't claim that every single detail here is absolute and 100% correct. I can't. I have to put down what I know, what I've been told, and it may take years to fully know the truth. So he's just putting together everything that he's uncovered or been told. So I want to make sure that you guys know that he's not stating any of this as fact either. So the crime scene was not preserved properly as multiple entry and exit paths were created. I think we all can attest to that being true. Bloodhounds from a neighboring state were requested, but then called off before searching Ron Logan's property and house. The bloodhounds can track a scent for 100 miles, and they possess millions of scent receptors. Their hits can also be used in a court of law. There's a very good chance that if the bloodhounds were allowed to come in, they could have led directly into Ron Logan's home or to a piece of clothing that he was wearing, or even if a piece of his clothing touched something else, that could have been detected or quote-unquote hit on. He's not wrong. They could have led to Ron Logan's house, or they could have led somewhere else. I would think that that's probably something that we're all in agreement on, is we don't understand why the dogs were not brought in still. I know that they were going to search for the girls, but once the girls were found, they knew that it wasn't there was nothing accidental that happened there. So they still should have brought the dogs in to search for the perpetrator. But that's my opinion. On February 14th, immediately after the girls were found, Elios approached Ron Logan's home but did not enter, nor did they immediately seek a search warrant. By law, they did not need a search warrant to go into his house because there was an immediate suspicion and potential threat being that the girls were found literally in his backyard. Now, multiple Ellies admitted that they should have called the Bloodhounds even if it took one day for them to get there, and multiple Ellies also stated that they should have gone into Ron Logan's home on the 14th. Ron Logan is believed to have been home on the 14th and did not exit his house once to see why there were Ellie walking around his property. Now, he puts in parentheses, if you had policemen walking around your property in broad daylight, would you be curious as to why they were there? You might not. Or you might have something to hide. It says Ron Logan's property. Ellie left Ron Logan's property within 1 hour. And dispatch receives a call from you-know-who, Ron Logan, 30 minutes later, asking why there were Ellie on his property, meaning he was home or less probable that someone tipped him off. Now, this is interesting to me, and not because of the Ron Logan stuff, but where's the information that they actually they left his property after an hour? And that's on the 14th, so they were only there for an hour after they found the girls. There's questions that I would have that need to be followed up on, because like what day are we talking about? When were they there for an hour? Who was only there for an hour? Is that the 13th then? I don't know. That's why I said they had questions. I got questions. He says, Ellie finds a bottle of orange cleaner sitting outside on the property, seemingly out of place. The orange cleaner is a degreaser and is used for most hard-to-treat stains, including blood. Do I have that picture? I might have that one. I might not. So there is a picture of orange cleaner, an empty bottle of orange cleaner sitting on Ron Logan's property that was floating around social media. I don't think I have it. Not handy anyway. So Ellie stated that Ron Logan had a number of identical blue jackets in his closet. He refers to this as the Dean Kamen effect, buying and wearing the exact same outfits or articles of clothing. If you look at the Bridge Guy video and Ron Logan's TV interviews, you will see him wearing the exact same blue jacket, meaning he most likely rids the bloody blue jacket from the murders and then just puts on another identical blue jacket. If he was wearing yellow gloves during the murders, like the yellow gloves he's wearing in his interviews, it's very possible that he has identical pairs of the gloves too. Ron Logan lies on camera that he was in Lafayette during the time of the murders. That is a straight up lie. His receipt from the aquarium store is at 5:21, putting him there at approximately 5 p.m., which means he doesn't have to leave his property until 4:30, giving him 2 hours to commit the murders, walk mere feet back to his house, clean up, bag up the bloodied articles of clothing, and head out for the store. Now, this is tough because we don't actually have a time of death. We have what we've been told was that everything was done by 3:30. You have to believe that to make this statement true. If you are somebody who believes that the girls were taken and brought back, that does he leave because the girls are being murdered? Do you see what I'm saying? Like maybe he's like, yeah, no, I was in Lafayette at the time of the murders. Was he in Lafayette at the time of the murders? See my point? Ron Logan tells his cousin to create an alibi for him, something he had never done before. He instructs the cousin to say he was picked up around 2:30, but in fact, Ron Logan drove himself to the aquarium store. 2 days after the cousin's initial interrogation, the lie is exposed, and the cousin admits that Ron Logan was never picked up, and that Ron Logan asked for an alibi to be created on the morning of February 14th before the girls were ever even found. And like, Kay's still here, but that's like her big thing. Like, why do that? Ron Logan's cell phone pings by the Monon High Bridge within the murder window. This would be considered digital forensic evidence, placing Ron Logan directly in the vicinity of the crime scene at the time of the murders. I thought Ron said he was in Lafayette at the time of the murders. Wrong and provable, and Ron Logan never made a statement that someone else had his phone, nor that his phone was stolen. Ron Logan's cell phone pings by the bodies at approximately 8 p.m. and 10:15 p.m. on February 13th. It is specifically stated that he is not inside his house, but is in the vicinity of the bodies at these two specific times. This would corroborate the local source. This is an interesting theory here, guys, so take it for what you want. This would corroborate the local source who says that Ron Logan cleaned the bodies at night. Hence, he goes out there at 8 p.m., acting like he's looking for the bodies too, and when he realizes the search party is nowhere to be seen, he goes back at 10:15 p.m. to stage and pose the victims, clean them off, supposedly with a hose and a cleaning product. The local source does say that there were a set of long hoses behind one of the structures on Logan's property. Could those hoses have reached the bodies? Multiple women have come forward, and some taking years, proclaiming that Ron Logan abused them and requested sexual favors for living quarters or to provide protection against probation or parole violations. So that theory would be that Ron Logan knew the girls were killed, cleans them up, and stages and poses them. Now, do I know that that's what happened? No, but this is something that ATS News and I have gone back and forth on about, like, is it possible? I see your point and I raise you a photo. Do it. Do it, Lead with Love. Raise me a photo. I'm all in. So, yeah, in a rural wooded area like the trails usually have really bad phone reception. Yeah, but his is pinging. Problem is, he lives there. And so my issue with him being the guy is, how dumb would it be to leave them on your own property? Or were you intending to put them on somebody else's property? That's my biggest thing with them being taken somewhere else and brought back. This doesn't make sense to me. Normally there would be another location. You'd take them somewhere else. You're not going to take them to where people might be there now looking for them. That's a weird one for me. That just doesn't add up into statistically what happens in a case where, you know, something like this would happen. You would take them somewhere else and dump them. Somewhere farther away. And especially if you had this planned and it was premeditated, you'd already have a place that you were going to dump them. You'd know, I'm going to take them, I'm going to get them in the car, I'm going to leave the car here, and then I'm going to drive away with them, I'm going to take them over here, and this is what I'm going to do. So this is a tough one. At 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m., Lesenby contacts the fire chief. I don't know what his actual position was. Contacts him and says, we got the last ping of Libby's phone that was at 5:30, and it was pinging near the bridge in the location that they were at. So I think that got very confusing because of the way that these guys talk and a little bit of the circles that they talk in, where everybody thinks like the phone pinged at 2:30. But it's actually that's when Lesenby calls him is at 2:30 in the morning, which is also interesting because we talk about like why did Ellie stop the search and whatnot, but Lesenby and that guy go back out to the trails after they receive Libby's last phone ping from 5:30 that night. Yeah, but they just passed the info on at 2:30. Yeah, so it gets very like convoluted because they're not specific in what they're saying. So then it's like, wait a minute. You know, he says at 2:30 a.m. contact me and said her phone was pinging by the bridge where she was last at. And it's like, okay, so her phone pinged at 2:30. And it's like, oh no. Her phone pinged at 5:30. Called me at 2:30. They're not specific enough. It's supposedly 1,400 feet. I don't know that to be accurate, I've obviously never been there. Oh, Coffin Never Sucks. You missed it. I was asking for you earlier. Yeah, RL was at most a pawn. He knew about it, but he is not intelligent enough to stage and organize what took place. So that's kind of my question. So is he going back out there and doing something? Is that how he knows? Is that how he knows where to go? And I mean, I don't know. There's something weird about that. Yeah, it does. I mean, I can see that he would have like industrial size hoses because of with the horses and stuff, but I just don't see them going. I don't see him going that way. People always misunderstood that too rarely. The phone company advised them in the wee hours. Yep, people whole theories about those pings. I think the bigger thing that was kind of caused a lot more speculation was Mike Patty talking about that the phone was pinging all over town. You'll know exactly why I was talking about you. Yeah, I think that he was, but I'm not seeing too many great people in the area of Delphi. I mean, there's obviously some good people, and I don't mean that everybody's bad, but like there's a lot of freaking bad people around there. There's a lot of bad shit happening. People don't come up with alibis for no reason. Right. And so that's why the question I would have for Chris is when was Ellie on his property for only an hour? When did that happen? Is that the 13th or the 14th? So let's say that they're there for like an hour, right, on the 13th, and they're looking around his property. They're like, hey, can we check your property? Because you remember in one of his interviews, he's like, yeah, they came up and asked if they could check my property, but he says that's when he got back. So let's say they were there for an hour and he realizes they're there. He calls them. Let's say that's all true. I don't know that it's true. I have no idea if Ron Logan called there, but we're just going to pretend that we're going to say, yeah, it's all true. And he calls him and he finds out like there's 2 girls that are missing. And he's like, ah, shit. They're going to think I had something to do with it. I need to get the hell out of Dodge. So he gets in his car and drives to Lafayette to go to the fish store. So he's like, hey, cousin, you had to drive me because my alibi is going to be that I was at the fish store, but I'm not allowed to drive to the fish store. So I need you to tell them that you drove me to the fish store. Or is this the 14th? And everything I just said, it means nothing. That's why I'm like, I need a specific. I need more specific. What time? What day? Yeah, the FBI has RL on the bridge. Yep, according to their search warrant. Yep. Bogey says, I agree he wouldn't leave on property unless he was part of some sex trafficking ring, and this plan went all bad, ran out of time. These bodies were clean, right? KK and RL and RA all knew each other. Well, that's what I wanted to figure out is, did they actually know each other? We know that the cousin actually lives by the Kleins. I don't know if I don't know if I can do it. He probably would do it. I could probably do it now that I've read his book. I probably could. I think I can handle him more now. Reminds me of Truckee. Yes. I still don't think she's not going to borrow her clothes. They wouldn't have fit her. There's no way. It was just a weird statement, like all over town. Okay, so let me see what else he says in here. Did I already read this one? Yeah, I did. Then the multiple women come forward. One of the women states that Ron Logan punched her in the face, and she indicated on her baby's father that if she ended up dead, Ron was most likely the one that did it. One woman comes forward that Ron Logan provided her with a place to stay. In compliance with her parole in return, the woman would have to have sex with Ron Logan. Yeah, that one's tough for me. This is while Ron Logan is in his mid-70s. This is not a situation going back many years, meaning he's sexually active post-70 years and is engaging in prostitution-like agreements. Well, so is she. So, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. A jail cellmate of Ron Logan's came forward with information that he witnessed Ron masturbating and uttering the statement, "Abby, stay still." Ron Logan commits multiple acts of forgery and fraud against insurance companies and private parties, lending to deceitful and fraudulent behavior. Ellie found a multitude of guns, weapons, and knives inside his property in 2017. He says he also owned a .40 caliber. A local source comes forward with a story about Ron Logan cutting off the testicles of a goat with a small knife right in front of him. The source reiterates how disturbing it was to hear and see the goat writhing and screaming in pain. Ron Logan has no problem physically moving around the Monon High Bridge and the surrounding woods. He works with large farm animals. Multiple sources come forward remarking about his strength for a 70-plus-year-old man. I'm not in the position to think that he couldn't do it. But that was one of the reasons that he says that the law enforcement, that the whistleblowers were telling him and Jason that the reason that they wouldn't consider Ron was because they thought he was too old to commit the crime. And I'm like, that is not something I think. I do not think he was too old to commit the crime, unless there's something about the crime that they know that I don't, obviously. But physically, no, that guy I think he was just fine. High-ups at ISP and Carroll County both reprimand state police officers and deputies when they bring up Ron Logan as a suspect. One source comes forward and states that Ron Logan is biologically related to one of the higher-up LEs in Indiana. This element has never been discussed publicly nor disclosed. I don't know if that's true. One source claims to have direct knowledge that ISP Doug Carter and Carroll County Tobe Lesenby are covering for Ron Logan. This same source claims that ISP and Carroll County have concocted this catfisher scenario in order to funnel cybercrime money to their departments. Yeah, plenty of 7-year-olds still. Yeah, isn't like syphilis like the most widespread in nursing homes? Yeah, I think that they're still active. Okay, let me see. A local townsperson claims that Abby and Libby never communicated with the catfisher and that it was actually one of the girl's sisters and a friend. One LE source states that it is borderline slanderous to claim that Abby and Libby communicated with a known catfisher and pedophile when there is no evidence to suggest that. One LE source states that ISP detectives used deception techniques on the catfisher in order to elicit a false confession. The catfisher proclaims on tape and in transcripts that he never communicated with Abby and Libby. He was repeatedly asked this and was told that he did over 20 times. The catfisher states that's a fucking lie. Multiple times, obviously making sure he gets it down on the record. An HLN reporter interviews the catfisher in 2021, and again, the catfisher denies ever communicating with Abby and Libby over and over again on tape, on the record. Cowards at most of the local and national outlets drive false narratives about the catfisher and his involvement in the murders, acting as propagandists for the ISP. So this part, I do understand what he's saying. I do, because if you look at how hyped up Keegan Kline was and how everybody was like force-fed that Keegan Kline must be involved. They did the same thing with that Daniel Nations guy. They were like pushing out that Daniel Nations was arrested in connection with Abby and Libby. And when Holman is asked about it, Holman's like, I don't know where that came from. Like, there's nothing to suggest that he is or isn't. Like, I don't know why that's being put out there. Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I understand him better. So if I'd like him, I don't know him, but I mean, I like him better, if that makes sense. I understand his perspective on these channels now more than I did before I read the book. So that's one thing I would say. It is an interesting read. It doesn't take very long to get through. It's not a novel. I want to make sure that you guys know that it's not a novel. It's his story, and like it's essentially just like saying that this is like a really long Facebook post. So to me, I'm glad that I ended up reading it. I was like, oh God, am I going to do this? But I'm glad that I did, because I think that what he believes his purpose is makes more sense now, even though I don't agree with the way he goes about it. So let me find this next one that I wanted to show you guys. I think it's this one. Let me play it real quick. This one. Okay, so let me bring this one over. So this one I was listening to, and of course, you know, as I'm going through to try to get a timestamp, there were some other things that I found interesting. So I want to play them, and it's actually some of the stuff we were talking about a few minutes ago. That what happened at the first hearing? What happened at one of the hearings? This is January 15th of 2023, and it's murder sheet talking about what happens at the first hearing. And I did find it interesting, even though like some of the stuff that I want to talk about, it actually happens later on in here. But so I'm going to play, but I want you guys to listen to this too. Why didn't you guys tell me that you guys couldn't hear anything? God, I quit. Now you guys tell me that you can't hear anything? Oh, shit. What the heck? Why didn't you guys tell me? I quit, man. This is what happens. I hit the limit, and now I can't even function. I'm like, yeah, you guys can't hear it or see it. You got nothing. You guys are just sitting here just watching me just nod my head. Yeah, like that's it. Yeah, I got you. So dumb. This is so dumb. I wasn't looking for anything. I'm listening to the damn show. Oh, I quit. Why is she looking at the screen? Yeah, because I'm watching the show. Oh, shit. All right, let's try it again. I thought I was reflecting. I was in serious thought. Yeah. This is so dumb. This is so bad.
First one quickly, Kevin, the gag order was extended. They're going to continue.
Hold on.
Anya, as far
How
as
many
Richard
minutes
Allen
was
goes,
that was a long time.
Could you discern anything from his demeanor? What
gone through the loss of these two precious girls, and still so many unanswered questions. So I think that's really on a lot of people's mind as they're here reporting on it, that at the center of this are two families that lost two beautiful children.
And Kevin, as far as the families go, did they show up? Was there support for Richard Allen? Was there support for the victims in this case?
Yes, members of both of the families of the victims,
you're hanging out with me, even though
Williams' family and Liberty German's family were present, and also the mother and wife of Richard Allen were each there. They were sitting together, actually just in front of us. And as Richard Allen walked into the courtroom, he mouthed the words, "I love you," to his wife, and she mouthed them back to him in return.
Anya, as far as Richard Allen goes, could you discern anything from his demeanor? What his mood might be like, what he might be feeling at this point? He's been behind bars for a minute now.
He certainly has, yes. And I think he looked a little bit diminished than when we saw him last, to be frank. He looked sort of faded out, very stricken, kind of a terrified expression on his face. That's how I would characterize it. And I think the faces of his family members also match that. It's just a very, painful moment. And I think, even he's been accused of pretty heinous crimes. So I imagine that and the incarceration certainly play into what we're seeing from him.
Yeah, no question about it, right? Let's get into some of the issues that were addressed today. Again, as I said earlier, very important issues being addressed by the court. First one quickly, Kevin, the gag order was extended. They're going to continue with that gag order. Explain to me what we can expect as far as that goes. They can speak about procedural things, is my understanding, but everything else pretty much off limits?
That's basically what the judge said today. She actually worded it very interestingly. She said, I had a meeting with the attorney.
Pay attention to this part.
In my chambers, and I reminded them of the rules of professional conduct, that it's okay to talk about procedural matters. Other matters it's not so okay to talk about. She clearly does not want this to be tried in the press. She does not want the prosecution and the defense to go at it in public media.
He says that it's okay to talk about the procedural stuff, which would be all the things that are in like the Frank's memorandum, all of that, even though I know that they say, well, that's not what she brought up. Well, she obviously wasn't very happy about it because she talks about that, that she wants the next ones to make sure that the new attorneys to make sure if they're going to adopt that motion that they redact it. Hi, Nancy. You guys are killing me, man. I'm laughing so hard. So that was a big deal to me because I'm like, wait a minute. That's one thing that she talks about, that they're basically saying too much stuff. And everything that they say in that press release that came out in December of 2022, that all goes along with Rule 3.6. They're allowed to say those things, and it wasn't against the gag order as they are trying to imply now. And even Kevin Greenlee says it. He's the one relaying what she said.
All right. The other big issue today, I think one of the big things today was the change of venue. We heard that talked about a little bit. She ruled on that, deciding that they would stay in Carroll County, but bring in a jury from somewhere else. Anya, give me some details on that rule.
Absolutely. So this comes from the defense's motion to have change of venue, and they specifically asked for the trial to be moved 150 miles away from Delphi at least. And that basically, when you look at a map of Indiana, just leaves the southern portion. So they wanted to move far away because they noted that not only is Carroll County following this case closely, but so many people locally have a connection to someone who searched for Libby and Abby, someone who knew Libby and Abby. It's a very interconnected community, and there's concerns about bias there. So basically what you have the judge saying is, I agree with this, but it's unreasonable to make the victims' families have to pay for travel and accommodations and staying elsewhere when this trial is going on. So best of both worlds, in her view, was to basically bring a new jury of outsiders to Carroll County while having the trial play out here.
All right, and Kevin, I understand that you're an attorney, so maybe you can break down for us, and in some of the most important parts, there were a number of discovery issues that happened today. They wanted expert reports. This was a defense. They filed a motion. They wanted to know if there were any witnesses that were going to testify against him. They wanted records and statements made by Allen. There were quite a few. Breakdown.
So this is another important thing that going back in time, looking at the stuff that actually happened that back then meant nothing to me. But now with everything that we know, looking at it all in hindsight, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So this is another one that was very interesting. So there's no doubt that RL was in fact BG, and we show photographic evidence along with other supporting evidence. I've watched your stuff. So here's an interesting comment then. Because what they actually have charged Richard Allen with is him being BG. They're not actually charging him with killing the girls. They're charging him with felony murder that led to killing the girls, which means that they believe they can prove that he is BG. Not even like vice versa, that Ron Logan gets him down and Richard Allen's over there or anything like that. This was actually something I was talking about the other night when I was on with It's a Crime and Shame, because I struggle with the charges the way that they are. Because if they really believed he was the one, they believed he was the one who did it, right? He's the one who was BG, and he takes him over, and it was a kidnapping, and then it leads to them being unalived. That's essentially what felony murder is. It's committing a felony and somebody dies. Doesn't matter if say it's me and ATS News, and ATS News does the killing, but we only went there to kidnap. We were just supposed to be kidnapping girls. We weren't supposed to be killing anybody, and now she goes and kills the girls or kills anybody, and now that's felony murder for me. So it's an interesting concept, because this is where you can't have both. You can't have BG being Ron Logan at 6'2" and BG being Richard Allen. It's impossible. The other point that I made on when I was over there, though, is if they really believe he is the guy who did this, they believe that he's the guy who killed them, why aren't they charging him with murder? Yes, it's felony murder, but they could charge him with murder. Indiana's a death penalty state. They could have charged him with murder and gotten him on death, given him the death penalty, or at least minimum life without parole. His charge now does not go with life without parole or the death penalty. He is not facing that. That he will not be sentenced to that. So I think it's important. Where'd Noe? Hold on, didn't you say you were under the gag order? No. Oh, yeah, and supposedly Mark Cohen is too. Mark's not under fucking gag order. Sorry, that'll get me all riled up. So anyway, it's interesting, because if they really believe he's the guy who actually killed the girls, why would they not charge him with the higher crime that would actually get him a more severe sentencing? His charges, only if they upgrade him. His charges as they stand now are not death penalty. He cannot be charged with the death penalty, and nor life without parole. He would get parole. The way they stand currently. Okay, let me go back over here. So this is just another thing that I found what they said to be very important, just looking back at things in hindsight. So I'm going to play it.
For us, some of the more important ones and what the rulings were by the court.
One of the more interesting ones in my mind was the defense wanted to know, is there any witness who's made a deal with the state to testify or to provide information? If so, we want to know the name of that witness. We want to know what he was promised. And the prosecution replied by saying they have not made any promises to any witnesses. So that suggests there's been no deal with anybody to bring about this prosecution of Mr. Allen. Other than that, the prosecution seemed pretty willing to give them most of what they wanted. The only exception is that in some instances, the defense asked not just for recordings and transcripts of statements that were made, but they also asked for any analysis that the prosecution had made of those. And the prosecution's position was, well, basically, you're asking us to do your work for you.
Okay, I went a little too far. But what he actually said is the defense during that hearing said, we want to be aware if anybody has had a deal made. If they've made a deal with anybody to give up information, we want access to that person and we want that information immediately. And Nick McClelland says, we have not made a deal with anybody. Now, that's kind of shady if they just physically haven't signed on the dotted line. And this happened in, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this case, Zachariah Anderson's case. It happens in lots of cases, but that's the one that really comes to mind, is they hadn't made the deal yet. It wasn't signed. The deal wasn't signed, but the offer was there. And what they do is they wait for the person to testify. And it's like, we'll make you this deal if you testify and we get a guilty verdict. Can somebody grab it for me? Hey, Steven. I try to get a height from the 4-foot curve, but it's very difficult. However, there is something else on BG that proves his height. His jacket. There's so much to this case that we do not know. And I think when things come out, there are going to be some real mind-blowing info. When I start to look at things like this again, I go back and I go, okay, do they have somebody else that they have tied to Richard Allen that they're waiting to charge for some reason? Do they have that person in the background that they've made a deal with? I don't know, but it's just not signed. BG is 6'1". Well, wasn't that the original height? I should write this down because I forget it every time I bring it up. They changed the height, and the height was, so one of you guys is going to know, 5'10" to 6 foot, and then it was changed to 5'8" to 5'10" or something along those lines. Somebody will tell me the right heights because I always screw them up. Yeah, they couldn't get nothing was accurate. That's why that changed. And then the FBI changed it. It was 5'6" to 5'10", but that's the second one, right, Jackie? Or is that the first? I don't think they have bombshell secret anything at this point. I thought maybe they would. Yes, then 5'8" to 5'10", then they deleted it all. Okay, hold on. Let me go back. It was 5'8" to 5'10", and then they changed it to 5. I think the calculations are coming from other things that are in the. I have those screenshots. I'll just have to pull them out so I can be accurate on that because I screw up those heights every time and I say them backwards or incorrectly, and I hate putting bad info out there in the world. So 5'6" to 5'10". That's the second one. The range for the first one was to like 6 foot. Or is my memory just bad? Squeaky wheel. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll see you later. Oh, really, Bianca? They'd like you to believe that he's 5'8". Yeah, they would. McClellan is going to call Marissa Tomei to the stand and she'll testify. I know it was changed. I just don't remember what the heights were when it was changed. Carroll County Facebook post 717. The person depicted on the composite sketch is described as a white male between 5'6" and to 5'10", weighing 180 to 220 pounds, with reddish brown hair, eye color unknown. That's the one from July of 2017. 5'6" to 5'10". I'm going to write that down. Let me just write it down. 5'6" to 5'10". Then what's the second height? It goes away and then it comes back as a new height. What's the second one? 5'6" to 5'10", 180 to 220, and that's posted in July of 2017. And what's the second one? If they have any bombshell evidence, it would have had to been turned over in discovery. So if they're sandbagging it, there's going to be major problems. They got nothing. Right. So we know that the defense, after the September 18th, we know they received another dump of info, and they said, like, we don't even know if it's duplicates or what it is. So we know that's like where the professor's interview was and other things that they, quote unquote, found. But they had until November 1st to turn anything else over. It was 5'8" to 5'10" prior. And then it changed to 5'6" to 5'10"? Well, there's some things that are very weird because they talk about, let me see if I can bring that up. We'll talk about this and then I'm probably going to wrap it up. Let me get rid of all these.
Case, and I certainly appreciate all.
Don't want to listen.
This guy, Ronald Logan, kind of got the bit.
I do. I'm going to need this. Let me go in here. And then I'll bring this up. It's in, is it this one? Nope. It's this one. Nope. It's this one. Let me see if I can find it. Richard Allen, nope. It's up here. Okay, so here. An interview was conducted in 2020 of Bree. She was able to show investigators a picture that she took on her phone of the Monon High Bridge with a timestamp of 12:43 p.m. Bree showed investigators another picture she took at the bench just east of the Freedom Bridge when they were leaving at 1:26 p.m. Okay, let me see if I can find something for you guys real quick. So I can show you that this doesn't really make a lot of sense. Let me find one by herself. I don't want to, I'm not trying to bring up a bunch of other pictures. This one's by herself. Okay, so this is Bree. This is who they're saying took the pictures at the bridge at 1:26, where by the bench. Okay. Now, the picture that comes out by the bridge at 1:26, right, is not of Bree. Now, does that mean she didn't take the picture? I mean, she could have taken it and and whatnot. But let me show you the picture, and then you guys tell me. That's not Bree. And that's a selfie, is it not? That's supposedly the picture at 1:26 p.m. by the bridge. This is Bree. Cheyenne and friend. This. Wait. Okay, yeah, I was. This is Riley and her sister. Riley talked to Hannah Shakespeare. But in the search warrant and in the probable cause affidavit, they state that in 2020, Bree Wilbur came in and showed them pictures that she took. We were talking about Brad Weber, and people wanted to know what he looked like. So I brought him up. Hey, Mrs. Depp. This is amazing work, Teresa. I got a page for you based on a name you mentioned on a live 2 days ago. Ooh, sweet. You have a picture of the empty bench? No. That's not her. That's what I'm saying. Like, why in there? This would be Riley and her sister. But they're saying it's Bree. That Bree took the photo. Now, did Bree take this photo? Does it look like a photo that somebody else took? Because it doesn't to me. It looks like a selfie. The photo is Riley. Yeah, that's right. But I'll go back and I'll show you guys. In an interview was conducted in 2020 of Bree Wilbur, she was able to show investigators a picture that she took on her phone of the Monon High Bridge with a timestamp of 12:43 p.m. Bree showed investigators another picture she took at the bench just east of the Freedom Bridge when they were leaving at 1:26 p.m. Bree stated after she took the picture at the bench, they started walking back towards the Freedom Bridge, and that's when they passed the guy. But remember, the whole thing was that she took that they took the picture and sent it to their mom. I don't know. I was reading this the other day, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, why do they keep saying that Bree took this picture? That's not Bree. That's Riley. So is there a totally separate picture that Bree takes? Maybe they stop and they just start taking pictures. You guys want to see something else interesting? I haven't dug too far into this, so you guys can tell me what you think. Let me find it real quick and I'll show you. And then this will be the last thing. This will be the last thing I show you. We'll see. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Let me send it to myself real quick. Thank you, ATS. This just goes along with here when they're talking about that she gets the scholarship. And remember, I brought up that Dan Doolin's son also got a scholarship. So this could be a big fat nothing burger. So you take it for what you want. I'm just showing you what I've been looking at lately. Oh, I can send you the link, Shelly. It's not done though. So I try to preface, and anybody who wants to look at it, you're absolutely welcome to. It's so not done. So this is Just a random article I came across, and I was like, well, these names really sound familiar. Let me blow it up so you can see. So Maya Abbott. So this is the Delphi Community High School Senior Awards Night was held. So this is from June of 2021. So Maya Abbott. There's one. Mackenzie Sandusky. Maya Abbott again. I'm just going to tell you these names. It's going to mean something to you in a minute. Mackenzie Sandusky. Maya Abbott. Evan Fritz. Hope DeMello. Hope DeMello again. Hope DeMello again. So these are awards that they were given. Now watch this. Come on, open up. Let's make it bigger. People interviewed on 2/15. Evan Fritz, Mackenzie Sandusky, Maya Abbott. 8/24/2021. Interviewed Hope DeMello. Interesting. Does it mean anything? No idea. Just found it very interesting. Why are all these people? Who was the Maxwell on that list of recipients? Let me go back. Where was it? Here. Was there a Maxwell? Did I miss it? Hope. Was there a Maxwell? Did I miss it? Oh, right here. This is Robert and Joan Maxwell. That's the award. That's the award they receive. Or the scholarship. This is like the foundations. So the dark part is who's giving it. So like the Tri Kappa award goes to Evan Fritz and Haley Nelson. Yeah, so that's the giver. So like up here, so here's another. So Bertha Mears is the Mears farm, right? Is the one that was across the, it's the Mears parking lot that the girls were dropped off in, like that's what they call it because it's right next to Mears. So that was Bertha Mears originally, and then her daughter, Bertha's daughter, married an Abbott, and they had Carl Abbott. Carl Abbott was the one who ran the funeral home. Maya Abbott is Carl Abbott's kid. So just interesting. It's a small school. Yeah, it's just interesting that they're all right there. Bree's brother was Chase, Kelsey's boyfriend at the time. Yep. So this Abbott right here is the great grandchild of this Mears receiving that award. Once again, does that mean anything? No, it's just interesting. It's just info. BDN. Yeah, so like I said, just stuff when I'm going through trying to find stuff for the what do you call it? Where'd it go? That's not where it is. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Trying to get all the information to put in here for you guys. you guys want it, here it is. This is the link for it. There's a ton of stuff that's still empty. Obviously, like I said, I'm not done, so. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Like I said, that's just what I've been working on. I do a little bit of this every day so that there's more info in here on a daily basis to go through. It's just there's so much. There's so much to go through, so much to have. I did, like I just updated, I think that was one of the last big ones I did. I went through and did all the Kokomo crew with all their information. That was a lot. And then I realized that there's like a few people that I didn't put on here that I need to go back and add because there's so many persons of interest. I forgot who they all were. Who else do I have in here? Charles Eldridge. Who else did I finish? Paul Etter. So that's got like anything that I can find the information on. It's got like links to that. It's got the screenshots. So you guys, it's for you guys. So it's trying to just get everything I have organized, so that we can see what we're actually left with when we're done. I think I've shown you guys that's got the family tree if you're interested in that. All the information on the leaks, which I keep adding to every time I get more info. The timeline, this is still a work in progress because there's obviously a crap ton to that. So this is still a work in progress, and it's got, it doesn't want to let me do anything. It's not in the right view. So you can go in and see the pictures of the girls. No, it's a public site. You should not have to, unless you're on your phone. Somebody was telling me that on the phone you have to, that you might have to download an app, but it's just it's a public presentation, so it's just out there. You should not have to sign up for anything. It's free. It's all yours. I'll go take a nap. I got to go make dinner. So I'm just trying to compile everything into one spot so that we can sit here and we can look at anything that we want to look at that has been in this case for however long. So if there's stuff that you guys think it's imperative that needs to go in here, by all means, let me know. This is still a work in progress. I'm actually putting all this on a Google sheet because it's way easier to do it that way. As I find all their interviews, it'll all be there. All the witnesses and the searchers. Like you go to Eric Williams. Here's his interviews that he did on Ruckus. The interview he did on the Unsolved Crimes, which is Art of Deduction. It's got all the screenshots from his conversation. So that's all there. Let me see. Pat Brown, his information, screenshots, his alibi. Michelle Keene, who says she was there. John Jakes. So, that's a great question. I've heard that, but I'm not 100%. Hope DeMello is Keegan's girlfriend who originally had him talking to McLeland and Carter, plus just in general talking about the red Jeep bullshit. Frank, is that true? Is that true? Because does Hope not work at the vet? Thank you, Starlight. You too, you guys be nice. It's okay if you don't agree. She was in high school as recently as 2021. Wait, what the fuck? Yeah, she graduated in 2021. She was the same class as the girls, I believe. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think. And doesn't she work at the vet? The same vet that Kathy worked at? And the same vet that Becky sued? Am I? Because I mean, you think I'd be able to figure some shit out? I can't. I'm like, wait a minute. Hope. Didn't Hope work at the vet? Hey, Ashley. Hold on. Let me go back up here. Okay, be nice. Hold on. Let me find this. Here. At Horizon Vet. She's interviewed at work, and she worked at Horizon Vet. And I believe Hope DeMello also works at Horizon Vet. And Becky Patty sued Horizon Vet. All right, well, that's gonna be for something else. I'm gonna have to dig into that and figure that out. She's Keegan. She's the one that gave Keegan Klein or connected Keegan Klein with them. Keegan's girlfriend, who originally had him talking to McClelland and Carter, plus just in general talking about the red Jeep bullshit. I gotta find out if that's true. Hi, Kaleido. I need to get clients' Christmas ordered, and the hotel owner wants me to move downstairs. Thank you, Judy. I try to go down all of them. Just don't let me get stuck in one for too long, okay? All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I thank you guys. Go enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'm making chicken tacos for dinner because we didn't get Taco Tuesday, so I've got to have Taco Wednesday because we did the Christmas performance last night with the tiny human who did a great job. It's not very animated, but he did a great job. So we didn't get Taco Tuesday, so we're having Taco Wednesday, and I will be back. I will be back tomorrow. I don't know what the topic will be, but I will be back tomorrow. So go enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I will see you guys mañana. Thank you guys for being here.